Latrell, whether you like it or not, you've kind of eroded that equity that you've had with the NRL and the NRL fan base. And a lot of it is unfairly bestowed upon you. But a lot of it is actually within your realm of control. And I think this is what's happened. When you are the boy that cries wolf a couple of times and you constantly speak up, I mean, there's part of me that thinks that the media should know better as well, mate. You know that guy's gonna, why are you sticking a microphone on him? But the other element is you're like a superstar of the game, and unfortunately that is part and parcel of the territory. So look at the NRL, man. Latrell. So what's going on? Latrell Mitchell is at it again. Controversial NRL figure Latrell Mitchell is at it again, dropping multiple F-bombs in an interview after the game when the Bunnies lost to the Broncos. So this is kind of blown up in social media and the sphere. Here's the thing. I've seen the video. It wasn't a very memorable video, but I tried to get it. I tried to find it to actually show it to you before so you can get a view, but it's been blacklisted. It's taken off the internet completely. You cannot get this video at all.
That's some interesting moves by the NRL taking a page from the
British media,
the Royal Palace. I would say.
So just to paint the picture, like I said, I can't really remember it, but the bit that people are going over in arms are two elements. One is, so the Bunnies are off 2-0 at the moment. They lost to the Broncos, and this is when the interview happened after. Two things that happened. One, it's a pretty disappointing loss to the Bunnies, and it continues a disappointing back end of last year. So they're just under the pump. And Latrell, in his responses, he basically kept chucking the F-bomb, right? Like when you hear Jesus, this is terrible. Like a bogan,
fucking.
Yeah, every second word is an F-bomb, right? So that's the vibe that I can paint.
Today's the episode of impersonations.
And there was one point where he actually heard himself speak. Not that he didn't, but he said, "Look, I know I'm swearing, but I don't care about it." Right? He literally said that more or less verbatim, right?
Where's the media training here? Was this shown on? Sorry,
it was not shown on live TV, but Triple M did it, and then obviously this is stuff like this. The thing with Latrell is he's very controversial. I don't know if you know about Latrell Mitchell, but in the Ezra Mam thing, so he spoke up very highly for Ezra Mam. He's constantly in the news. Latrell Mitchell is basically quite controversial in the NRL sphere for a couple of things. One is he speaks highly for Aboriginal rights, which is a good thing. But he's very brash, let's call it there. So that what that means is because the media can count on him to say stuff about that, he'll can't always be there in the news sphere. But the second element about Latrell is he's seen as a little bit of an underachiever. He could actually, when he's at his best, Latrell is probably the top 5 best players in the NRL in his entirety, right? But there is an element of underachievement about him. And I think the other element that actually didn't really work in Latrell's favor in this interview is he had just reached a milestone of scoring 100 tries in the NRL, which only a select few individuals do that, right? So after this
great achievement,
but after this F-bomb laden interview, he went on to say, you know what? I scored 100 tries. That's really good. It's a good achievement. And people were saying, dude, your team just lost. You're under pressure. Why are you making this about yourself, right? So a couple of things here. One is Latrell Mitchell out of control? And just a couple of elements here. The NRL, off the back of this, actually has told Triple M to stop filming interviews after the game. They've gone out of their way to do this, which is pretty big if you think about it, for one player to set a precedent like that. Secondly, the chief executive of the NRL, Andrew Obbo, had a meeting with Latrell to speak about this, which is a pretty big thing if you think about it. It's not the first time that you'd expect a footy player to chuck an F-bomb. Again, he did multiple times, but is this blown out of proportion, or is Latrell Mitchell out of control, or what Phil Gill said, he's not respecting the game? And a lot of ex-players have fired up and said this element that he's not respectful of the game. He's a role model. Like it or not, people look up to you.
That's the thing.
Aboriginal kids look up to you specifically.
That's the
and
thing.
If they're hearing their idol chuck F-bombs like it's part of Australian vernacular, pardon my French, it's not a good look for the league and him. What are your initial thoughts?
There is a responsibility that you have with this certain status that you... Is that it?
It is, but they've superimposed the image, the audio. That's not the actual audio.
Oh, is it?
So what I mean is, again, the NRL has gone out of their way to blacklist it. They've taken it out. That's insane. How that does not happen often. That's a lot of effort.
It's because it's the, again, it's okay. If I was him, right? So he's thinking like, oh, I'm trying to be myself. Like, don't censor me. You know,
I don't want to be a role model.
like, well, you don't. I think with that position that you have, if you're an elite superstar that people will idolize, you have no agency or choice. Like, that is just bestowed on you.
Yeah.
Because people will follow what they deem to be gods on earth, right? Where they're just really talented. And I think this is where the corporate side comes into play. If I was NRL, that is they
It's the image of the game, right?
they're trying to now, you know, for lack of a better phrase, try to, you know, wrangle it to a point where it's, you know, they're trying to mitigate a lot of risk that's coming from it.
The image, right?
And because it will impact them in light of what's like with what's happened with the the launch in the US. Like, you know, there's a bit like, I would think that they would think like, you know, oh, we might have more eyeballs put on us. We don't want people like to think that, you know, our players are like this, you know, like there's a sense of, respect the game as a general punter, like, just like, you know, that is just viewing it. I think that's a bit too much, but I do get this. I do agree with the sentiment that if you're like, you're in profile, you're in the public. There is certain, this is why I say, where's the media training? Because regardless or not, there's still like, we're not saying don't be yourself, right? But there is work hours.
Yes.
It's the exact same thing. And, you know,
that you have to be presented, you have to be perceived in a particular way.
Yeah. Because that equals trust, that equals credibility, that equals, a whole myriad of goodwill.
Yes.
Right? So then when you start heading into this road, it's a question on your character, which, as I say that seems extreme, but that's how fickle, that is how fickle the general public can be based on, I guess, again, it's the first impressions and perception that people have. Right?
Yeah, Latrell, whether you like it or not, you've kind of eroded that equity that you've had with the NRL and the NRL fan base. And a lot of it is unfairly like bestowed upon you. But a lot of it is actually within your realm of control. And I think this is what's happened. When you are the boy that cries wolf a couple of times and you constantly speak up, I mean, there's part of me that thinks that like the media should know better as well, mate. Like, you know that guy's going to, why are you sticking a microphone on him? But the other element is you are like a superstar of the game, and unfortunately that is part and parcel of the territory. So you should be mature enough to ensure that your character is not assassinated or that you're giving elements of that. But yeah, I think the backlash is there for a couple of reasons. One is ex-players and people within the footy community saying that you're a representative of the game, dude. There's no way you should be talking about that.
They probably...
You're a role model. People look up for you.
They probably got the same speech when they were playing, right? So it's like this, you know, the brotherhood of, you know, trying to be like, come on, man, pull your neck in, that type of thing.
And secondly, which is the other interesting element, he is like an Anthony Mundine sort of character. He is, right? Like, let's just say it what it is. So there'll be always an element that'll want to not silence, but... I think we know what I'm trying to say here, right? Trying to silence basically conversations of that manner. So here's the thing, Latrell. You stand for something that's actually really important and you're a representative of your people. Don't put yourself in any situation where when you finally come out to say things that really matter and of your heart, that your character is already compromised. Because unfortunately, this is where we're seeing ourselves here.
It's all supposed to be about advancing things forward, right? If you believe, if for the greater good that, you know, you're standing for, like, and this, I'm talking about this figuratively now, like any person who believes in the greater good and, you know, there's disadvantage and trying to lift their people up and stuff. It's about advancing people forward and not getting pulled back into this either this rhetoric or this story that has been told constantly that bogs people down.
Yeah.
I think that's yeah.
I will say just to like close it off here. There is a part of me that's very empathetic of Latrell, and I see this with, let's just call it like players of color that are thrust in the spotlight very young. And I told you this about Selwyn Cobbo, where the guy is so young, he is not media trained, he's not articulate in his words just yet, and he constantly gets the mic rammed on him because he's a superstar. Media out there, pick on that. You guys are not idiots. You can tell whether a guy is uncomfortable on the mic. I'm not saying don't put it out there, but we need to help everyone as a whole, right? Like there's elements of that that's the time that's telling me to end. But we definitely need to help like our people there. So don't lead them down narratives. In this case, it was Latrell's fault. Just putting it out there. But I'm just saying that there is a narrative here where we need to build each other up, and putting people in positions to fail, even if it's not directly, what do you call it? Manufactured or meant to be there, is not a good thing. And please leave Cobbo alone or interview him with other people. Like I'm not saying that he doesn't want to do it, but like let's represent him well, because players will mature. Anyway,
there's other measures that happen, right? Like it's the organization to support them in that space. It is that equal rotation, because I guess that's the other thing, right? Like you want to hear the stars about what they think about the game, like how the game went and all that stuff. But then it's, how do you raise all the people?
Whoever thought that the beginning of the year we'd have so much NRL discussion?